Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Glenn Beck finally back with us. I feel like you've been gone forever.
No, and I think only today.
Yes, only today.
Yeah.
We've missed you. What's
Thank
the
you.
top
I've
story
missed
for you?
talking to you. Top story for me is Miley Cyrus. I've got a lot to say about Miley Cyrus licking cakes. And not even licking it. Well, I just leave it at that. Licking cakes. I've had enough.
Okay, Stu.
Steven Crowder, freedom of speech and feelings.
All right. And Mr. Andrew Heaton.
I have a depressing yet uplifting victory for freedom in Maine.
I liked the question mark attached to that.
Because it is. I feel the same way about that story.
Sometimes freedom's sad.
Yeah, it is.
All right, obviously a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. Glenn, I know that you were a little bit concerned with doing business with any financing companies.
Well, I mean, starting in 2004, 5, I started saying, I think it was 2004 when I first started saying, don't take these home loans. It's insane. And everybody was like, oh no, it's 0% interest and they're giving me half of the house up front and I own a boat with this now too. And they're like, don't do this. So when American Financing called me around 2007, I said, no, I don't do mortgage companies. No, because I think you're all shams and thieves. And they were like, whoa.
I'm sure they appreciated that.
Well, they listened to me. They listened to me and they were like, no, Glenn, we are not that kind of a mortgage company. That's why we're calling you. We are exactly on the same page. And I said, yeah, right. Well, you called me after 2008, after the crash. And it was a few months later that it was they crashed and they called and they said, our business is good. Our people are good. We didn't have a problem because we never made those stupid loans. And this is a company that actually works for you. They don't get kickbacks from the banks to make the loan. So they are on salary, so they work for you. And they've done it with Stu, where you call and say, hey, I want to do this. And if they think it's not in your best interest, they'll say, you should probably go get that loan for somebody else, which they did to Stu. And I respect that. It's a group with integrity, and they're not going to put you over the barrel because times are going to change. They're going to get harder. And then when they do, if you have a loan that you can't afford, it's trouble. So just call American Financing, 800-906-2440, AmericanFinancing.net.
All right, Glenn.
I'd actually like to, because I believe that the more important story is the Steven Crowder story. So can we start with Stu?
Yes, okay. Yeah, let's start
I
with
too
Steven
think
Crowder.
that Stu should begin.
And not Miley Cyrus licking cake.
Yeah, but that is important.
It is important.
There is
We'll get
cake
to
on the
that.
set today,
There
so
is.
that makes it important. So Steven Crowder, if you haven't followed this saga, it's been pretty amazing. A guy from Vox is a guy that Steven Crowder routinely fact-checked his videos and would occasionally call him some saucy names.
Saucy.
The names that he called himself as well.
His tag is gay wonk.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he did use that and a couple of other words that he had called himself several times. And you could say it's childish. You say you don't like people calling each other names. If we all live in that world where there's nothing offensive and no offensive content, I haven't picked it up lately.
Yeah,
right.
it's not a very funny world either.
Steven's a comedian, and a commentator, and sometimes he does things that that might not be okay in polite society, I suppose. That being said, of course, Steven Crowder's been called every name in the book a million times by the same people complaining about this now.
I know.
So
he's a Nazi.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd much rather be called what Steven was calling people than a Nazi.
Yeah.
Much more offensive to be called a person who wants to kill millions of Jews. So anyway,
Which he does not.
He does not.
Thank you. I just want to clarify.
Yes. It's a tough one. So anyway, this guy complains about it and releases editing every name that Steven had called him completely out of context for over dozens and dozens of segments into one little handy video for everyone to be offended at.
And it looks bad. Yeah. It really does look bad. When you have a year of context and you've taken all that context out and you've just put 3 seconds here, 3 seconds here, 3 seconds here, 3 seconds here, and they might be months apart. It looks
like
bad.
All he does is sit at home and come up with new insults for this poor guy. So he tried to, now it's an interesting thing. Everybody in the public eye gets this sort of abuse. I've had it. We've all had it. I've been called the worst things that are imaginable. And Nazi's an easy one, right? I mean, it's like basically the worst thing you can call someone. Racist and another.
Take it back too. I think.
Yeah, thank you. It took a while, but I think I kind of won you over. But that's what you get in the public eye. It's a sad fact of life. So the idea that taking someone calling you names and then bringing this, instead of escalating and saying like, I don't like that he called me these names, you could ignore him. You can fight back on the facts, because it's not just he's calling him names. These are lengthy dissertations about the mistakes he's making in his work. Instead of handling it that way, he goes to YouTube and tries to get Steven Crowder banned.
Now it's not just him. It's Vox, NBC, Universal.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is a giant corporation saying, oh, you hurt our feelings.
Yeah, he called it cyberbullying. Now, look, that's just ridiculous. It's childish, right? I have 2 children that are 6 and 7. Sometimes Zach will say something about Ainsley, and Ainsley will cry, right? Like that's what a child does in these situations. And I mean, if we cried every time we had an insult online about us, we'd never
crying all the time.
Hey, I won't hear it. Tomorrow's the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and I think we're the same tough Americans that we were back then.
I take a deep breath every time I go on Twitter.
Yeah.
I pray every night that I'll grow a spine.
But I mean, like, the bottom line is you can react in a million different ways. You don't go ban the guy's content. It's just ridiculous. And of course, everyone jumps on his side of this because that's what happens. So Steven releases an apology, which is an absolutely tremendous 21-minute apology in which he's able to go through every insult he's called everyone, from left to right to Glenn to coworkers.
You should hear what he said about some of the coworkers here.
Oh my God!
My gosh,
absolutely slaughtering them. And his point is, I'm an equal opportunity offender, and he's able to go through all of his very funny lines about all these different people.
It was brilliant.
It was, and it went very, very viral. So of course, YouTube goes through and actually does the investigation. There's no way if we asked for an investigation they would do it. NBC Universal asked for one, and they do. They go through and they actually go through all of his shows. And I think, like, if you're at YouTube, you might not realize the difference from the front. For someone like Steven Crowder and whatever, who you want to put out there, Milo, or some person who really you could look at and say is truly offensive and has massive problems. Like Steven
is truly just political.
Right. Like Steven is a commentator. He takes these things seriously. You watch the videos and you can tell he's actually done a lot of work. It's not just a bunch of insults. He's not just some hate monger. So anyway, YouTube does this investigation. They figure out, you know what? Steven actually is okay. We're going to keep his channel on. This, of course, infuriates the left even more. I mean, YouTube looked at this and saw these bad words, and now they're still allowing him to be on the platform.
You are telling us, you are sending a message to the LGBTQIWXYZ crowd that this is not a safe place. Oh, you've got to be kidding.
During Pride Month, even.
During Pride Month.
There you go.
Bad insult to
So after that pushback happens, YouTube, first of all, releases a wide-ranging new content policy in which they ban all hate speech. I mean, they're like pulling Holocaust denial documentaries in full air quotes off of the site. They're doing everything.
This is bad.
Did Crowder trigger that? Because I saw that today.
Yes.
They're taking down all the conspiracy stuff, anything with white supremacy in it.
Not directly, we don't know. It's not. They're not saying it's because of Steven Crowder. I'm sure it's something they've had in the works for a while. They've been trying to figure out a way to do this, but it certainly
is bad.
This
is bad.
Anyway, they go back to Crowder now. I mean, this is, I think, purely a reaction to the Crowder situation. They then demonetize his YouTube page. This is something that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars a year at least to Steven. They're going after him again. They want him to pull different links and stuff out. I think the two takeaways here. One is if you are a public figure, you're anybody, you need to stop worrying about what other people think about you. If people call
you're
you
a public
names,
figure,
get over it.
Everyone who has a Twitter handle or Facebook is a public figure now.
Yeah.
If you're commenting and you're saying to the world, hey, like me, you're going to have people who hate you as well, and you're a public figure.
And again, this is from the same people who just exposed a random day laborer in New York to the same type of abuse. They all know this stuff happens. They unleashed the world of the internet against this poor guy in New York.
And that guy is a public figure, but he doesn't do it for a living. He's a day laborer.
Right.
These two actually do this for a living.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a big part of this. We all have to just grow a backbone. And and I think this is journalism, because this is Fox. It's supposed to be a journalistic site. Journalism as a whole, your job is not to go out there and try to get the other side shut down. It's fair for, let's say, the New York Times to write a report about Steven Crowder and the words he says. And then they stop, right? Other people want to get him banned. They can all band together and try to get him banned. But what's happened now is we have journalists, supposedly, out there just being activists. They're advocating. How come every time, Alex Jones, they'll ask, hey, why haven't you banned Alex Jones? Why haven't you banned Alex Jones? How come you're not banning Alex Jones? They become activists. It's not about just reporting on the content.
You're saying we should engage with ideas we disagree with instead of trying to cut them off at the knees so that no one can be exposed to the pathogen?
That is a much better way of saying it than I did, but yes.
Anybody who works the word pathogen is either
solid pathogen use there.
Science guy or somebody that is just not somebody I want to be with at a party.
Well,
and that's saying something. That's coming from me.
Yeah, he doesn't even like parties.
Yeah.
It's the idea of, there is this idea that we need to be tolerant of different ideas and realize that, you know what, the world is not designed for you to be safe. It's not a safe space. It is a place where people are going to say crap that you don't like. And you have to grow up, grow a set, and do something about it. You want to fight back against the ideas? Great, engage on those ideas. But don't just wuss out and try to get everything you don't like banned.
I'm bothered by a recurring phenomenon where, like, I'm a nice civil person. I don't really like roughing people up. I'm not a provocateur. That said, though, I have noticed a phenomenon in discourse right now where if I don't like what you're saying, rather than going after what you're saying, I'm going to make a character attack against you. And what I'm going to try and do is loop it into the most odious thing I can find, which is usually racism. And then if you question whether or not this person's racist, you yourself are racist. So you must absolutely forswear this person.
First time that ever happened, I believe, in U.S. history that we can find was with me. I was the first person that we can find that said, I think this guy is a racist. I think he has, and I said, not a racist exactly. It's not quite right. He has a deep-seated hatred for the white culture. That's what I said about Barack Obama. And I was immediately branded a racist. We cannot find a time where the guy who said, you know what, I think that he's got a race issue here. We cannot find another time where the person who said, I think there's a race issue here, was deemed the racist. And nobody went, well, now wait a little, let's look at it. Nobody.
Yeah, it's you just calling someone else a racist makes you a racist, which is...
Well, Cheryl Atkinson said that in her book that the left perfected it, learned it, and did it on me first. And then they saw, oh, wow, look what we can do. And then they just went hog wild. And now it's everybody. It's everybody.
Yeah, well, there's a point. I mean, like, I kind of feel like even 4 years ago, if you're like, this person's racist, everybody would go, whoa, what now? And now it's like, yeah, of course. Everybody's racist.
Which is exactly what we said at the time. You can't cry rape if it's not really rape. You can't cry racism if it's not really racism. Because once you do, those words have no meaning anymore. So I'm like, rape. Yeah, right, rape. Every word becomes like a car alarm. When a car alarm goes off in a parking lot, I ain't looking.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, somebody turn the damn car alarm off. The guy could be breaking in and going, I'm just trying to shut the car alarm off. Whatever.
I'll say, too, if you happen to be listening to the podcast and are not a subscriber, the Steven Crowder story should remind you that if you have the funds, if you like this content, you should subscribe, because these places where everything, like YouTube, like every social media company, they're coming after conservative voices in particular, not exclusively, but in particular. And, you know, places like this, like The Blaze, blazetv.com/news is what we're doing here.
News and why.
Whatever it is, go to blazetv.com and subscribe, because it gives people the opportunity to come and say what they want to do without the fear of, of the reprisal that we're getting from these other companies.
It is really, that point is really important. I did not put any time into a YouTube page until this year. We never did YouTube for me. Nothing. I could have had millions of subscribers, but we never did it because we were building this. And we have learned that we have to have that big funnel top. We have to have where the people are. We have to have those people see us outside of a paywall. Otherwise, you can't get them over here. It's not just the money that is going to hurt Steven Crowder. I would bet that Steven Crowder would be like, okay, well, fine, but don't lose my voice on YouTube. And you did it yesterday. He did a search on YouTube for me. You watched a video. Not a single Glenn Beck video came up in his.
And I work here. Imagine how much Glenn Beck stuff I have in my algorithm. Like, it's insane. It makes me sick.
None of it was in his suggested viewing. Not one video.
Did get an Andrew Heaton, though. Oh, I will say. I did get an Andrew Heaton one.
Yes, the system's benefiting me.
All right, back in a minute.
That's true. It was, they're all the recommendations,
crazy.
and then I feel like
It's crazy. Not one.
What did you?
I won. That's right.
All right, before we get back into the conversation, want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. So summer is around the corner, and if there's anyone who knows anything about weight loss, no, I don't. What are you doing?
I'm just pushing the cake towards you.
I don't want the cake.
Okay, I want the
can't
cake.
eat the cake. That's the point.
Just put the picture. Okay, can you see the camera on me? Okay. Now put the camera on Sarah. The cake.
The cake.
it's so cute.
This
There it
is
is.
this is an advertisement for Riduzone right there. You want to look like me with the cake or her with the cake?
That actually is a great advertisement.
It really
for
is.
Riduzone.
I just did a picture thing with this cake, like Miley Cyrus, and it was so much funnier when I was skinny. Now I looked at it and was just like, oh my gosh, that's sad. Look at what happened to him. Oh my.
But Riduzone has the good molecule in olive oil that helps boost your metabolism and help reduce your appetite. And I have to say, it's much more palatable than just downing liters of olive oil. So if you're looking to lose some weight,
until you tried it.
if you're looking to lose some weight, maybe you've hit a plateau, whatever the case may be, try Riduzone. It works for me to maintain. It can work for you as well. It works for so many of you out there. You've written in, you've said Riduzone is working for me. So you can go to riduzone.com. That's RIDUZONE.com. Enter promo code THEBLAZE and you will get 30% off of a 3-month supply. It's $1.39 a day. You can invest that much in your health. It's riduzone.com. All right, Glenn, Miley Cyrus licking the cake.
So Miley Cyrus, do we have the picture of her licking the cake? Yeah, there she is. Abortion is health care. Now there she is. She was paid, we think, by Planned Parenthood for this. This is part of a fundraising campaign, so she's raising money for Planned Parenthood and abortions. Now there's several layers, no pun intended, to this story. First, there's abortion is health care. Do you have a side shot from this? Because this is the cake. And this was made and taken by a photographer who had nothing to do with Miley Cyrus or Planned Parenthood or anything else. They took that cake and photoshopped it with her, okay? So they didn't ask the guy, they didn't buy the photo, they just stole the photo. Piracy is a crime. So they just stole it. And the guy who's on their side is like, you just took my photo and my work. And they said, oh, well, we'll tag you. We'll give you a shout out. And he's like, no, I want money. It's my job to do this. Okay, so that's one level. The other level is Miley Cyrus and her tongue. I've had enough of Miley Cyrus's tongue. Now, maybe you haven't. She clearly hasn't. She is just such, I don't want to characterize her.
I will say she's crude.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah, okay. But do you remember Hannah Montana?
Yes.
Yeah, the Disney show?
Yes. And I had the opportunity back when I was on CNN to sit with her dad. And I'm like, what are you thinking, dude? Watch.
The odds of Miley turning into Ron Howard, which meaning sane, pretty low. Living in Los Angeles, being a child star, hello, Paris Hilton, Lindsay Lohan, name a million others. We're talking security guard city with Gary Coleman.
On my wish list of things, I wish Miley would turn into Ron Howard so they'd cast me in a great big movie. But since that's, like you said, it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. Second of all, really, in reality, I know Miley's got a great head on her shoulders. She's got a great heart. What I've always tried to be to Miley is what I am on the show. I try to be her best friend. I try to be that to all my kids. I try to be the one they want to talk to if they're having a problem. I've always tried to be my kid's friend. And so I think she's going to be all right.
Yeah, you think wrong. Now that we come back to it, I mean, she has turned into everything that he hoped and her mother hoped that she wouldn't be. There is.
I doubt he could recognize that, though, right? Like, it's your own daughter. Do you think he recognizes that? I don't think he's been critical of her at all. I haven't seen anything where he's disappointed or.
He may just be embarrassed. I mean, but that's hard to come out publicly and say, I'm disappointed in my daughter.
Right, and I think, too, if your goal is to be your daughter's best friend, you're just going to be supportive. And I think it would be hard to see that in anybody's kid.
You would get to this point, though, and I wouldn't come out publicly and say I'm ashamed of my daughter. I would, because I would want my daughter, I would not want to hurt my daughter in hopes that at some point she'd come back home. And she might. I mean, it usually happens with all of these child stars. They eventually, sober up and then come back home and learn their lesson. And you would want to be there as a dad. I just feel bad for the family. I feel bad for her, because she was a sweet girl, and we all saw this. We all saw this coming. And now here she is, raised in a Christian home. Billy Ray is a strong Christian guy, and he raised her the right way. And for somebody at this point to be actively raising money for Planned Parenthood, this is so far off the hook of, hey, rare, safe, legal. This is so far away from that debate now. To throw your money in front of raising money for that organization that will not call a baby at any time until mom says it's a baby is nuts. So we made this cake today. It looks like a poor man's version of this, and I'm sorry I licked it a lot, and I did chew on it a little bit too and eat some. Anyway, I took a photo. Do we have the photo? I don't think we have the photos up yet. No. They're going to be on. I'm going to tweet them out because I'm using my picture with the cake to announce a fundraiser myself. I am selling this painting for charity, and you'll be able to bid on it. I think we're going to put it on eBay tonight. Do we have it?
Yeah, we have it.
Okay, so there it is. It's next time I'll just call it Planned Parenthood, and this was inspired by the what was it, the life bill that they?
Oh yeah, the Born Alive Act.
Born Alive Act, and the recent ruling where you can abort a child due to race. Well, those are two things that Hitler loved. We can kill the baby once it's born. Let's see, does it have any deformities? Does it have the right color eyes? Yeah. Is it white? Mm-hmm. Is it Aryan? If not, kill it. He also loved the idea of race killing. He was very anti-abortion.
Publicly. I mean, it was a meaningless stand.
Yeah, publicly. Because you were a mom, was supposed to have children, little Aryan children.
Right, he didn't want to abort Aryan children.
Right, but he would abort and kill anything else. If you were a Jew that had a baby, he didn't mind doing experiments on the baby and the mother while she was carrying. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, and I don't want to name the charities just in case they don't want to be associated with propaganda painting of Hitler. And I don't know, appropriate for your house to hang, I don't know.
Can you imagine walking in for like a dinner party and that's just hanging behind the table? I feel like
I would hang that. I would hang that. I mean, I'd hang.
Well, you're you.
Of course you would.
Of course you would.
I'd hang I mean, I don't know what anybody else would do. Now? But anyway, tomorrow it'll be up for auction, or later tonight, and we'll tweet out. But all of the proceeds will go to pro-life causes.
I love it. All right, back in a minute.
Want to lick the cake? Anybody?
After you've already licked it?
You've taken care of that. We were just having the conversation earlier about Steven Crowder and the demonetization of his YouTube channel, and how important it is that if you are able, sign up for the conservative outlets that you listen to, that you frequent. You got to sign up for a subscription. We don't know when they're going to censor us. We don't know when we could be going away.
How many are really concerned that possibly soon, possibly 10 years from now, your voice will be silenced? You?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Publicly?
Are you worried about public silencing?
Yeah.
And Andrew's nice to everyone.
I know. I know I am. Please sign up. Join us at The Blaze.
You can use promo code NEWS, get $10 off of your annual subscription. And bonus, you get overtime, which starts next. We'll see you there.
Yay!